Welcome to Activations with JJ, Adventures in the Akashic Records. Today we are going to explore the energies of the Crone. The first story I'll be sharing with you is basically a recap of a session I had with a dear client named Sarah, and we had such an incredible experience connecting with her Crone aspect, essentially. Just a beautiful, beautiful session where that came through. And the other soundbite that I'm sharing with you, this is actually different than I've ever done before, was so connected. And I know I'm going into the Akash, every time I'm channeling information. So even though it wasn't necessarily set up like a one-on-one Akashic record session, this particular soundbite is a snippet from a conversation I had with my friend Amron JJ, because we are channeling a book together. We are co-creating a book. And the topic of the book is the energy of the Crone and the essence of the Crone. And what I have set the intention to do, and both of us together, is to literally channel through her voice, because she is rising and she needs to be heard again. Now, this isn't the only experience that I've had with the Crone over the last several weeks. I've had many sessions where the Crone comes forward. In fact, in one of our co-channeling sessions, my friend Teresa came through. She had just pulled a card, and if you are familiar with the Megan Watterson Divine Feminine deck, there's a card for Hestia, the goddess Hestia, and she is in her Crone image. And so as Teresa was channeling in our co-channeling circle, she brought through the most beautiful message from Hestia. It was so lovely to be able to hear that voice and to hear and feel that energy. So again, I'm including right here a recap of an Akashic record session I did, telling you a little bit about that. The voice of the Crone is very particular. It's very straightforward. And the way I like to say it is truth bombs. It's all truth bombs. So throughout this episode, you're going to hear a lot of those. You might want to get your notebook out and you might want to write these things down, because they are very power-packed, concise, not beating around the bush statements. And that is exactly how the Crone communicates, because she doesn't care. In fact, it was, I can't remember where it was now, but in a recent either gathering or session I had, I said, I feel her energy, and it's like, she's like, I don't care. I don't give a care what is going on. I don't care what people think about me. And it was just this beautiful, freeing, very liberating energy. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to feel of this Crone energy through these two experiences. And I hope you enjoy it. I'll pop in at the very end of the episode to close us out. This first story is about a session I had with someone who I will call Sarah. And as we opened her session, I asked her and I said, well, what are you feeling for this particular session? Are you wanting to just see what pops in, what surprises Spirit has for you? Kind of like a grab bag. You don't know what you're going to get. Or do you have specific questions? Do you want to go somewhere specific? And she said, nope, I just want to be surprised. I want a grab bag. And it's really interesting because sometimes I feel like that level of surrender is needed. And sometimes I think it's good to have a specific, like a more specific intention, but I don't really have a judgment either way. I always leave it up to the person and I honor their intuition, because it always turns out really amazing. So as we began to drop in, I felt like we just settled her into her body, and it was almost like we were going on a little bit of a journey, and it felt to me like we were visiting someone. And as we started to come to this place where we were headed, it came to my realization that we were actually visiting her future self. And I started describing her to this person. I said, oh, she's got this beautiful long gray wavy hair, and she was kind of wearing an eccentric dress, and she had that attitude of like, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. So she was very much exuding Crone energy. And I have to say, the Crone energy is a theme. And I am currently in the middle of channeling a book with my dear friend Amron, who was involved with me in the Priestess Portals. She has many different incredible offerings coming up soon. And one of them is this book that we are co-channeling, all about the Crone aspect of the Divine Feminine. So it's very near and dear to my heart. And when this person's Crone stepped forward, I knew we needed to listen. I knew it was important and significant. It felt like they were sitting at a beach house, and that just literally steps away from the sand and from the shore. And we were on this little, it was very clear in my mind. As I describe it to you, it was just so clear. We were on like this wooden deck, and the Crone version of her older future self was just rocking on a rocking chair, just like you would see an older person do sometimes. And she invited her to come and sit down with her and to have a little chat. And I don't know about you, but you can always tell when you're going to have one of those grandmotherly wisdom chats with an older person where they're about to deliver some advice. That's exactly the vibe that was going on. And it was really just incredible as she came forward in her full personality. And the first thing she said was, number one, you worry way too much about what other people think of you. And she said, get over it. And then she said, number two, stop obsessing about every little thing with your body. Don't overanalyze every sensation in your body like something's wrong with you. I mean, there was no mincing of words in what she was saying. Can you feel that? And then the next thing she said was, let go and love will come. And to give you some context, this client doesn't currently have a romantic partner, is wanting a companion and someone like a soulmate, but she doesn't have one. She does really kind of difficult to find, but this was a beautiful piece of advice. Let go and love will come. And then this future version, this elder self said, release attachment. Release attachment. And then I had to pause because just from the perspective of a light worker here, sometimes I know those of you who have sessions with people, you can start to feel when their body's like clenching up and their body's like, this is a lot. So I immediately could feel her body was like, I don't know if I'm on board with all this. So I just took a pause and I said, okay, hang on. I feel like there's some energy in your lower back that's a little hesitant, a little bit resistant. So just take some deep breaths. And I just waited. She kind of moved around her body. And then I felt like that dissipated and we went back to the scene. At that point, her crone offered her a little gift. And I couldn't really see what it was. I felt like it was literally like a ceramic knickknack, those kind that grandmas have all over their house, right? And her crone self said, oh, you like gifts. You like giving gifts. I like giving gifts because we're the same, and this is true. This person really enjoys giving gifts as a love language. And it wasn't even like it was this expensive ceramic thing. Again, I still don't know what it was. Even to the end of the session, I told her, I was like, I don't know what it is. But it was very significant, like a little figurine. And her crone self said, just keep this on your shelf. Keep this. It will remind you. It will remind you. And after the session was over, I said to my client, I said, I literally feel, because she's like, what was the thing? What was the thing? What was it? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't see it. I said, but here's what's dropping in. I feel like you're going to go to like an antique shop. You're going to walk in and you're just going to start to peruse what's there. And you're going to see this thing. You're going to find it. Like it's going to be there. And you're going to go, this is the thing. I'm going to take it, and take it home and put it on my shelf as a physical representation. So that was pretty cool. After she gave her this little ceramic object, this little gift, her crone took out literally a journal. Okay. And I felt like it was a journal from the future. So she was giving her a journal that was showing her pages that would occur after the time that we were in. And she said, she's kind of giving you a little spoiler. And she said, read this page right here. And when I told my client to visualize herself reading the page, I knew she wouldn't see words. I knew she would just feel the energy off of the page. It felt like it was emotion coming forward. And then all of a sudden, I heard the words 42. And I knew that this person wasn't 42 yet. They were going to turn 42, but they weren't 42 yet. And I knew that was something about that. And then also, many of you know the significance of the number 42 with numerology and all of those things. So it was pretty significant. And then her crone said, when you hit 42, all of the knots in your stomach will be gone. And at that point, I had no idea what she was talking about. I didn't really get it, but I knew that, again, it was significant. And then I can sense and feel that my client is having a lot of emotion come forward. I could see she was crying, but there was a lot of release immediately, just so much release. And then I felt this incredible opening, and it felt like my client, like Sarah, was pouring out her heart to the crone. All of a sudden, this whole time she'd been listening, and then all of a sudden it was her turn. It was her turn, and she had a giant release, and the crone was like, dump it on, vent, do it all. And she was listening without any judgment, just listening. And Sarah was getting everything off of her chest because her guide said, you hold a lot in and you don't want to feel like you're imposing on people or bugging people, so you hold a lot in. And this crone version of her said, listen, nobody can understand you like I do. You need to come visit me more often. She said, I have all the time in the world. You will never be a bother. And then she said, I have a lot to show you. And then the final phrase that she had said, which was so powerful, she said, there's no one worth knowing more than yourself. There's no other person that's worth knowing more than yourself. Isn't that incredible? Oh, so powerful. So once she finished with that, we went back to, her body, and we brought her in and grounded her and worked with her body. And it was so funny because right before we left, her crone version took the little ceramic gift and wrapped it in tissue paper and put it in a box, just like a grandma would. She was like, and then my friend Sarah started walking down the beach, and then the crone wouldn't stop. I totally thought we were done with that one really super powerful part, and then she kept going. She says, before you know it, you're going to be here. You're going to be me. You're going to be here. So just enjoy where you're at now. The present. There's no such thing as time. Be present. You're already complete. I could feel that was really significant when she said that. She said, you're already complete. There's nothing undone. You're already finished. And then I kind of was tapping in. It was kind of like a hybrid channeling situation. And I said to Sarah, I'm feeling that you're feeling like you always have to play catch up. Like you're always treading water. You're never getting ahead. There's always this list and you're never done with it. And as soon as I said that, the crone popped back in. There was no closure for her. She just kept barging into, this session, right? She's like, oh, one more thing. So she came back and I saw her literally taking a to-do list and she ripped it up. And she said, there is no list. There is no list. Live in the present moment. Stop making lists. Decide in the moment. Let your joy be in the moment. So just another so impactful piece of information and counsel and wisdom from this beautiful crone. Like this crone energy, my friends, I cannot tell you how incredible it is. And as I mentioned, I'm co-channeling this book with my friend Amron. And what I'm going to do here in this podcast episode, as I mentioned at the beginning, is give you a glimpse of that energy by not only including this story that I just told you, but I want you to listen to a little sound bite from one of the sessions where myself and my friend Amron sat down to continue to channel the contents of the book and to bring through the energy of the crone. Every time I connect with the crone, I feel like I am dropping truth bombs right and left. And you know what? It is not flowery. And it is so powerful that I can feel like a truth bomb. Like when you say that word, you know what that means. It hits you like a ton of bricks and changes your entire perspective. It's just like this release valve, and you literally, all of a sudden, all this truth just comes flooding into your body. Every single fiber of your being feels it. So again, I am really excited to be able to share with you a little glimpse as to what this is feeling like with regards to the book that I'm channeling with my friend Amron and how this all works out. So here's that sound bite, and I want to drop in, if you hang on right after this is over, I'm just going to stop back again to close out this episode, but this is going to be really powerful, and I'm excited for you to hear it. I also want to let you know the audio quality isn't the best. I was never planning on publishing it in a podcast. I was on my AirPods, and the microphone is not the highest quality. So I put the transcript below so you can also read what is being said in this particular conversation. So here we go.
The word unfiltered self is coming in because you know how we have all the filters on the cameras and everything. There's symbology there, but it's unfiltered self.
Beautiful.
You know, the grandmother, because here's what's going to be happening. It's the book. It's the book of advice your grandmother never got around to writing, or our grandmothers never got around to writing, or our grandmother, something about connecting it to their personal grandmother. In other words, like your grandmother always wanted to tell you these things, but it didn't happen or whatever, for whatever reason. The things your grandmother always wanted to tell you.
Yes.
Or your grandmother speaking to you from beyond, or, you know, like that whole concept, because they need a personal connection with a crone that they respected in their life in order for them to fully put their guard down and receive.
Okay.
Or something making it personal. And then it is really a bunch of advice, but it's really powerful phrases. Like I still saw with just like this phrase, that phrase, this phrase, that phrase. A grandma. As
Yes.
her though. I need it in first person.
Grandmother.
Yeah.
I desire to be more of who I'm here to be. Where do I need to go? What codes do I need to pick up in order to be who I think I can be in this life?
It's less a matter of doing or going, and more a matter of being and seeing.
She has another question for grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
What am I not seeing?
Dear one, why are you asking the question, what am I not seeing, instead of the true question, who am I not being?
Grandmother, who am I not being?
Very good. That is the first step. In order to know who you are not being, you must first understand who you are being. You must face the truth of who you are. You must face the shadow. And in truly seeing who you are being, you will finally become or understand she whom you desire to be. For when we refuse to see those parts of us which are currently making us who we are unable to release them fully. Yeah, that's the main gist of it.
Grandmother, how can I face my shadow?
You do not face your shadow, dear one, you feel your shadow.
Grandmother, how do I feel my shadow?
You must go into the depths of your being, deeper than you have ever gone before. And you must stop blaming others for its existence.
What might I feel in traveling to these depths?
It is an orgasmic experience. That is why we do not understand why so many of you refuse or choose not to go there, because it is truly pleasurable and orgasmic.
Grandmother, why did women stop traveling to the depths?
Religious programming. The story of Adam and Eve and the serpent. The duality of the devil and God. And all that entails.
So there you have it. Just take a moment and breathe in that channeled energy. Could you feel the energy? I was channeling that beautiful crone archetype, the grandmothers. And, there were about 17 different really powerful truths. I don't know if bomb is the right word, but I can't think of a better one right now. But between the session that I had with Sarah and this conversation that I had with Amron, you can get the gist of how incredible it would be to connect with your crone. And so that's my invitation. I just feel like I want to give you a little homework assignment. I would like to encourage you to connect with your crone, your personal crone, whether she comes to you as a goddess like Hestia, what I mentioned at the beginning. Maybe she comes to you as your grandmother from beyond the veil. Maybe she comes to you as a collective of earth grandmothers or star grandmothers. But I want you to bring her into your awareness, into your field. Invite her. And she will begin to talk this straight talk with you. And it will be extremely impactful because she just transmits over and over again very profound truths. And it's not just the words, it's her energy. You felt that, her energy. Amron and I, the entire time we were having that conversation, like every other second, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Just that's from my perspective as the channeler, because I'm also receiving at the same time I'm transmitting the messages. So it was indescribably beautiful to be holding that conversation. And I just know that this book that we're bringing forward, that we're birthing, is going to ignite something in a lot of women, especially ones who are feeling depleted. There was actually part of this conversation where I said that. I felt like this book was intended for people who feel exhausted and depleted because they've given away their life force. That's the word that came, their life force and their life source. birthing so many things like children, and you get to the end of that birthing phase and that sort of that matron phase where you're having babies or raising kids or whatever it is, raising animals, whatever you're doing in that middle age. And you're like, okay, I'm done with that. Like, this is a different phase. I don't know what it is, but this is a different time in my life. What am I supposed to be doing? And that's really what I feel like this book is going to speak to. But it will be for all ages and all genders, because we all need to hear these things. We are missing those grandmotherly figures, aren't we? So to close out this session, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for co-creating with me. I have a few gatherings coming up this weekend. If you are listening to this right when I publish it. Now, if you're not, you can always go to my website, Activations with JJ, and you can see what I do have coming up. But if you are, and you aren't aware, I have my Fairies, Dragons, and Elementals gathering on Sunday, June 11th. I have our Light Language Circle on that same day as well. And then I do have an upcoming couple of events that I want to drop in and remind you of. For those of you who are local to my area, to Los Angeles, I will be offering in-person sessions and an in-person event. So come out and say hi at the event. We'll be in Santa Monica at the end of June. If you're listening to this way after I published it, I will be doing monthly one-on-one sessions in the Los Angeles area, so you can look out on my website for that schedule too. Those sessions are super powerful. I feel like sometimes I'm channeling with my whole body. It's totally different than a virtual session, but again, for those of you who are in the area, would love to co-create with you in an in-person event. Lastly, I just want to make sure that you take a moment and check out the work of my friend Amron. She has an incredible retreat coming up later this year in Mexico, all about the divine feminine and the path of the woman. And you can see all of her information in the links below. I sometimes forget to invite you to like or subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, but I really appreciate all of that support that you can give. Really, what happens when you do comment below or you like or subscribe to the channel, what it does is it allows the algorithm to carry these messages to more people. So thank you again for taking the time to do that. As always, I am sending you so much love and reminding you that I am you and you are me, and we are we. Until next time.